Hello friends, this is Janine Warrow. I'm very excited to share with you a featured product. This is something I'm going to be doing new on my channel, and it's geared for all of my crafters. Shout out to all the crafty girls who love close to my heart. So today's featured product is going to be our exclusive inks stamp pads. So Close to My Heart has had stamp pads since forever because we are a stamping company. If you have not purchased one of the ones that we are carrying now, I wanted to walk through all of the reasons why these are so fantastic and why they're different from previous ink pads that we have had in the past. So we do have many stamp pads, but I am going to be focusing on our exclusive inks stamp pad that are dye based. They're actually dye stamp pads with their water base, so they're very versatile, very flexible, very easy to use, okay? This dye ink tends to have a little bit softer look versus a pigment ink that's very bold and vibrant and takes a while to dry. This, because it's dye-based, is actually also a really fast drying ink. So these are some images that I just stamped, and I can rub my fingers over them, and they don't bleed because the ink has already dried, because it absorbs into the paper instead of sitting on top. So that part's really awesome. The actual stamp pad is a great size. It's large, so it's easier to stamp any stamp that you have, and the size of it's great. So the outside container is 3 3/8 by 5, and the actual stamping surface on the inside is about 2.5 by 4. So this is 2.5 by 4. So you've got quite a bit of space to stamp with, and I'm going to be talking about all of the cool things about this. So one of the best parts about this is this has a magnetic closure. So gone are the days when you have a stamp pad that just kind of has a flip open lid that sometimes dries out very easily, or you can lose your lid, because this is magnet. So you've got 8 magnets on them. There are magnets on the sides and corners, but look at how cool this is. I can put this side by side, and it just kind of clings to each other like magnets do. So when I'm working, if I want to have this surface here, which I'll show you in a minute why you might want to, I can just have it connected. Or because it is magnetic, I can set this aside and only be messing with the stamp pad, which is great if you feel like you don't want all of that extra there. So a couple other things about this that's great. The actual stamp pad surface is raised off of the container. Some of the stamp pads that you may see in the market, or just the inexpensive ones at your craft store, they are not raised and they're flush with the actual container. This is important because you do want it raised off of the edge of your pad. If you are stamping with a very large stamp that doesn't fit on this, that you kind of have to go all around to ink it up, you're going to be running into the base, and that's going to mess up the ink on your image. Whereas if you're working with a raised one like this, it's very easy to ink it and this never interferes. Or if you have a very large stamp, so maybe something that's this big, because this is raised, I can also flip it over and I can ink up my stamp that way. So this makes it super easy to use and very versatile, okay? It's also nice because it is magnetic. You have a really nice tight seal on this. So you don't have to worry about losing the top or the top breaking or whatever. If you're not good at unlocking some of the ones out there, it doesn't matter. If you have, hands that don't work like they used to, this is really easy to come apart. So this is one of the big selling points about that. The other thing that's great about this is that since it is magnetic, these are stackable. So like right now, I'm working on some projects and I'm actually out of town, so I've brought them with me. And I can just set these on top of each other, and you can see how they just so easily come together and stack nicely. So rather than just kind of have them in like a drawer or a bin, you can actually stack them. You can see the color that you're using on the side. It is printed on the label, and you can keep your workspace really nice and really easy, okay? So here's another thing for you to note that is really wonderful. So back in the day when I first learned to stamp, I was always told to take your stamp pad and store it upside down so that the ink was always close to the surface. So if I'm stamping and then I store it upside down, any ink that's on the pad is going to like drain down to the bottom, which is what we want, because then when I flip this over to use it, my ink is right on the surface and fresh. Here's what's great about these stamp pads. Again, if we take these apart and we set aside the base, the actual stamp pad is built so that it is stored upside down automatically when you're storing this the correct way. So that's already built into this stamp pad. So great surface space, fast drying, magnetic closure, raised pad, everything about this stamp pad is so phenomenal. And if you don't already have some of these, you're gonna want some. because they're just the best stamp pad on the market, okay? The other great thing about this is, and I'll show you our idea book so you can see this. This is a sample page. We have these in 42 different colors. So see all of the colors that we have here? This is the current idea book from Close to My Heart. So if you're watching this later, it might look a little different. There might be different colors, but you can see just how many colors of ink that Close to My Heart has, 42 colors. They all have a reinker to match, and they all have cardstock to match as well. So this is perfect because when you go to craft, you don't have to wonder if, hey, is this shade of pink going to match this shade of pink that I got from this vendor? If you get them through Close to My Heart, your cardstock and your ink always matches. So there's no worry about a project not turning out right because you are starting with supplies that already coordinate so nicely. The price on these right now is $8.95. The other thing I love about this is that they do have like a little finger groove here, so it's very easy to pull these apart versus trying to pull them apart this way. But even though it's built in there, you almost don't even need it because it is so easy to open close because it's a magnet based, and that's really awesome. Once this starts to dry out a little bit, you know what? You don't have to purchase another stamp pad. You can actually buy one of those reinkers, and you just drop some ink on it, kind of smush it in there with the stamp pad until it's the desired color, consistency, thickness, evenness that you want, and you've just refreshed your pad and you're ready to work again. So love that these have a reinker to coordinate and go with it as well. Okay. One of the things that I will tell you I really do like about this is a fun tip. If you will take your stamp pad, you can actually press and squeeze this together so that some of the ink is getting onto the lid. Can you see some of that ink in there? So again, we're just pressing it, squeezing that together. And then when I pull these apart and set them side by side, I can actually use this as a coloring palette using my dye-based ink. So now I would be careful if you were doing something that had a lot of intricacy in it. But for example, on this design, if you just have an open space and you want some color on the inside, you can use this with a paintbrush, or you can use it with one of our water brushes. If you have not played with these before, these are awesome. This is a Close to My Heart product where all you have to do is unscrew the base of this, run this under your sink, fill it with some water, and close this back up. And then when we take off the lid, you've got this really cool brush, and I just have to squeeze right here, and it will squeeze out some water. I don't know if you can see that on my hand. Can you see that? I'm wiping that off my shirt, don't tell. So now I've got this nice wet surface. So I can actually take this and I can color with this and pick up some of that color. And then I can take this over to a stamped image and use this as a watercolor. Can you see that? And depending on how long I stay in one place, how firm, whatever, I can really do a good job picking up this color and pulling this in. If you are using dye-based, I would say be careful to stay away from the edges because the black sometimes will bleed. If you want to avoid that, then use a different stamp pad, like our Intense Black or something else. But this still gives you that look of watercolor, and it's a very fast way to color in if you don't have the right color of something. As long as you have a paintbrush or a water brush and any of our stamp pads, you now have something you can color in the same color, in the same tone. So see how we just colored that in? And it's the same color as what I just stamped with, because this is a stamp I stamped with. So anyway, love that about it, okay? So the other thing that's really nice is this cleans up really easily as well. So I can just wipe this down because this is a hard surface, okay? I can clean that up and put that away. So I don't have to pull out a separate palette or a tray or anything to watercolor. This is a very fast way to color, okay? So let me show you one more thing. If I do take this and I squeeze that to get some ink onto my tray, I can also just squeeze a drop of ink right onto this to make it a little bit softer and make that color a little bit lighter. And then I can use it to color in, and it'll just be a little bit softer than it was before. Okay, so there's a lot of flexibility and versatility with our stamp pads and these water brushes combined with our stamp pads. So if you do not have any of the Close to My Heart stamp pads, go to my website. It's just my name. It's Janine.ctmh.com. So JANENE.ctmh.com. Okay, and you're going to see that as well as many other products that you can shop with. I'm writing this down so that you can see it, janine.ctmh.com. Just click on the shop link and you're going to see all of the products that I've talked about here. And most especially, go check out our stamp pads and start with the black if you don't have black, and then start to build with colors that you really enjoy. Hopefully this has been a good video for you and you've learned a few techniques. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you at the next one. Bye-bye.